Perspectives on Trauma, sharing our views and healing our world.
Hello and welcome to Perspectives on Trauma. My name is Ahmad. And today I'm joined by Alice Buchanan of Dream Barn Hollow. Welcome, Alice.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here.
I guess to start, could you tell me what is quantum?
We're going to jump right in, right? It's like, okay, so quantum. Quantum is like the old fish who's swimming by the two younger fish and asks, "How's the water, boys?" And the two little fish go, "What's water?" Right? We're quantum. We're in quantum. Everything is energy, and we're different levels of energy. And so when you say what's quantum, it is all that it is, right? Like Nikola Tesla said, think of things in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. So when you come at it from that perspective, it's kind of like the graph paper that underlies a blueprint. It's the all that is. And so we have the opportunity to figure out, well, what is it that I want to experience here as, Alice Buchanan, or when you consider a cat, or when you consider a plant, what is it that these different densities are here to experience, and how do we interact? And if you consider the law of attraction within quantum, there is a component of recognizing that this is how we engage in a way that is fulfilling for us, and or an opportunity to investigate what it is that we're co-creating within this quantum field. So a lot of studies have been done that show how we, in fact, are co-creators within this experience. And I'm here to just remind people that everything that they're experiencing is part of their co-creation, whether it's conscious or not.
So material is like some sort of product of the quantum.
Absolutely. Okay. In fact, everything is made up of energy. Everything. This feels denser. It feels like it's heavier. We feel like we're solid. And in fact, all of us and all of the things that we see around us are actually energy. And so we're all of these components are vibrating at different frequencies, and that makes them lighter or heavier, denser. So if I come, you've heard about people saying good vibrations only, or this is the high vibe. Well, that literally is talking and referencing the higher vibrations of frequencies that are uplifting. So love and above, right? We have Dr. David Hawkins' scale of consciousness, and he noticed he was able to create a scale where love literally is at 500. This is on the scale, his scale of consciousness. And 200 is like guilt or shame. So you can see how that's a heavier energy. And then enlightenment is 1,000, right? And that's where you're at this place of just realizing that everything that you're aware of is taking place, and you're not necessarily in judgment of it. You're not in resistance to it. You're just in awareness of everything and the way that it works. So,
I guess thinking about someone's path to understanding quantum, like is it something that you become aware of right away, or how do you get to understanding this concept?
There are so, like, many roads lead to Rome. There are so many ways that you can get there. In fact, quantum is very quantum physics is very scientific speak, right? But we also have people who are very spiritual, and they understand that aspect, and they just have different language for it, right? They might call everything God, because God is all that is. God is in everything. Whereas quantum physicists say everything is energy. Well, is God energy? Sure. So again, this is that, this is that whatever take is comfortable to you, but to me, quantum physics is where God meets science. And the energy is, again, for us to co-create, right? That's that beautiful opportunity for us to be in a place of playing, playing and experiencing. And so if we don't like something that we're experiencing, we're the ones who get to make the changes.
So it sounds like emotions play a role in what we see around us.
Oh, sure. Emotions do have frequencies of their own. They've done studies, and every organ in your body is responsible for emitting a specific frequency. So if we think about all of those components working together, they create a harmonic that is our self-resonant frequency. So, and let me explain that a little bit, because, again, it's a fascinating concept that everything has a self-resonant frequency. The whole concept of an opera singer who can sing a note that will shatter that glass, right? That glass has a resonant frequency, and when the opera singer matches that note, reaches that frequency, that's when it will crack, it will break. So we too have a self-resonant frequency, and the beautiful thing about us with our ability to tune in and become aware, become more conscious, we can see how our self-resonant frequency can change, how we can impact the change based on an experience that feels comfortable or uncomfortable, or good or bad or evil. However that is, when we say, okay, if there's something here that needs to shift for me to raise my self-resonant frequency, so to speak, then I'm going to look to do that. I'm going to be excited. One of the things that's fascinating, too, is this concept of epigenetics, right? We have a frequency, and we were born, the physical DNA is handed down ancestrally, it becomes the body that we have, the vehicle to navigate this. But if there was a shock or a trauma or some unprocessed, unresolved emotion that happened ancestrally, it too is handed down, and it becomes part of the energy field that we have, and if it's unresolved, it will create something to let us know that we need to address it, or it becomes a physical issue for us to look at.
And so these hardships can be passed down.
Absolutely. They were looking at the Irish potato famine, right? And recognizing that that impacted all of the subsequent generations. This was something that was held genetically, epigenetically. This was not a word that was even on my radar when I first started becoming aware of that. But it's the quantum physics biological term that people can go research now when they want to learn more.
For people who are engaged in therapeutic treatment for trauma related, are they working on their own trauma? How do they work on past trauma, or can you even do that?
Absolutely, because again, we're in the field of all that is, right? And so we're the ones in this now moment that have the power. We're the ones that can look at whatever it is that's showing up, whether it's an awareness of a discomfort, a trigger, a trauma, and we can say, okay, it's coming to my awareness now. That means it's mine to be able to change if I like, or do something with, to resolve it. And when I do that, and I do that with an awareness that the buck stops here, I'm taking this on, I'm being responsible, it does in fact clear on behalf of the ancestors.
On the flip side of that coin, in a society that doesn't do this, what are some of the things that you see if this love enlightenment shifts the quantum one way, what does the opposite do?
Well, again, we're about holding balance, right? We're about holding balance. Ultimately, when I think about myself, I like to think that I'm mostly Teflon, right? I'm Teflon going through the day, and if there's something that feels sticky or it's like Velcro, then I know that that's mine to look at. And for people who are not ready or don't feel willing to look at those, they will continue to perpetuate that until it becomes so big that it becomes something that's going to impact them physically, usually.
So a burden that they carry with them.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
For someone, I guess dealing with this, whether it be intergenerational trauma or something in their own life, is there an introductory way to introduce this concept for them to take on and maybe even practice?
Absolutely. Louise Hayes wrote a book, You Can Heal Your Life. And it's that recognition that every feeling, every pattern has a frequency. And in her case, she equated it to the root cause of an emotion. This is one way that you can go in and you can say, I'm dealing with a lot of blame. I want to outsource. Where is this coming from? And looking at how that becomes disempowering, you can say, wait a minute, I want to reclaim my power. And I'm going to bring this home, and I'm going to look at where I'm giving my power away. So that's a great beginner book. The Emotion Code by Dr. Bradley Nelson he comes at it very scientifically, also from the perspective of a chiropractor. He's very good about laying out his process for healing things. Again, my process took me to working with energy that's beyond the physical at this point. And I feel like I'm able to connect in through quantum to those very, very non-physical realms and receive information about what needs to be addressed. So.
This sounds like something called 5D.
Yes.
So could you talk about 5D?
Sure. So we're here having a 3D experience. We're here in the physical body. We're navigating through time, which is one of the axes, and in space, which is another axis, right? So we chose to have this sequential experience of what that is. And when we become more conscious, when we look at healing what it is that's showing up, what that does is that lightens our self-resonant frequency and takes us more into the realization that all time is now. So this whole idea of we're running out of time is in fact just a realization that this is the moment where the power is. And this is the moment where when we remember that we have the power, we can address everything that's showing up with a new sense of gratitude that it wouldn't be showing up unless we were strong and powerful enough to deal with it and handle it. Now, anything that happened in the past in 3D linear sequential time, if that is still something that needs to be healed, we'll find ourselves telling stories about it, revisiting it, perseverating, thinking, if only I had changed this. And the fact is since it's now, and it's all now, we can still go back and address that. it heals that.
In this society, it seems that we're often recording what we're doing. So are these records potentially keeping some of this baggage tied to our emotions?
Oh, sure, absolutely. And this is, again, when we're perseverating, it's our mind, right? And we're then recreating in our now moment something that happened ago, whether it's ago in our lifetime or in another lifetime. This is how it's showing up now, saying, please fix this. If someone were to say, I want to heal this now, then everything will align for that to be possible. However, instead of letting it go, if you're telling yourself the story again and again and again, you're re-traumatizing it and you're reactivating it in your now moment. And I do have to say, the Native Americans apparently say, tell your story 3 times and then be done. And what did they know? They're coming from a very spiritual perspective of recognizing that if you continue to tell your story, that can keep you in that particular frequency that you may not actually benefit from. This is a traumatic story, and then you're identifying with your trauma rather than looking at how to move through that, heal that, become stronger. What is the gift? Because we're here to experience the range of what being a human means. And so, this is the part where it's like, let's look at these extremes. The extremes of love and joy, and how would we appreciate those if we didn't have some contrast? So for me, the minute that contrast shows up, and I want to judge it, or I want to dismiss it or deny it, that's when it's going to start getting bigger. And so this is my opportunity to go in and say, come here. I see that you're trying to show me something. You're trying to explain something to me. And I'm looking now at what is the gift? How can I see this as a gift? The question always allows that answer to emerge.
So accepting the negative emotion versus fighting it or running from it.
Right. So first comes the awareness, then comes the acceptance, and then comes appreciation. Thank you for showing up now. I can bless this as the contrast that it is. Say, now I can let this go. And you'll feel the energetic shift as you do that with full awareness. Rather than keeping that in the closet, keeping that as something that you're not willing to look at.
It sounds as if a society that is based upon quantum, or it incorporates this, would be very different than the status quo society we have today.
Absolutely, because we would recognize our responsibility in our interactions. Because everything is feedback for what it is that we're experiencing, everything. And so if that person who cuts you off in traffic and you find yourself triggered there, that's an opportunity to say, wait a minute, what is the gift here? Oh, I can be grateful that I know that all time is now. I work with divine and perfect timing. If you have somebody who's directing some blame, you can say, wow, where am I blaming? Because these are reflections for us. Rumi says, you're not just the mirror, you're the reflection in it, right? We're not just a drop of water, a drop in the ocean, we're the entire ocean in the drop. So this is that recognition that everything we do matters, everything. And how powerful is that, an awareness to hold? It comes with a lot of responsibility, yes, and with an amazing amount of opportunity as well.
It sounds kind of like a Taoist path of being in the straight and narrow and taking everything as it comes.
Absolutely. realizing that if there's something that's coming and I perhaps wasn't ready for it until now, this is a chance. I like to say the universe is generous and lessons are repeated until they're learned. We could say experiences are repeated until they're learned. The moment that I can move into accepting something rather than being upset about it and wanting to get out of a situation or put it away, move it behind me, the minute I can look at that for the gift that it is as that reflection, the easier it is for me to move beyond it and back into that path of neutrality and acceptance. That's the unconditional love right here.
So these things that stay with us, these traumatic experiences, letting them go sounds like this is what it leads to, but in letting it go, you know, I guess what are some of the difficulties you see with people in letting go?
Okay, so let's look at the word trauma. And if I look at that word from my knowing of the word, the German word Traum, that means dream, right? So if I look at that and I say, okay, what do I need to awaken for me to look at this? I'm in a place of being able to awaken a piece of myself to handle it. Is that, going back to your question, does that address that somewhat? It's really, again, looking from many different perspectives and asking the question, because the question can align you with the answer. And if I say, why have I attracted this experience to myself? Then I'm coming from a place of empowerment rather than victimization, right? If I'm a victim, I'll say, oh, what? You did this to me, right? Rather than, why would I have chosen this? Why would I have chosen this interaction? Why would I have chosen this conversation, this experience? And the minute that you ask that question and you pause to be able to receive insight, then you can recognize, oh, I'm ready now to address this underlying root cause. This is something that has perhaps been dormant or ready for me, because we all have these shadows. And when we get to the point of realization that our shadows are our gifts, when they're ready to emerge, however they emerge, whether, again, whatever reflection brings it to our surface, this is the external mirror of what's going on internally.
The pause to reflect.
Yeah.
So how do we get to this pause? Because it sounds like, you know, again, back in, you know, with our society, go, 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 we're constantly moving. So how do we get back to a pause to allow this?
There's the awareness, right? The first of all is the awareness that it's our opportunity to create the pause, right? To take that deep breath and drop into our heart, because heart knows. Heart knows. This is the center of our being. If I say point to yourself, you don't have people pointing here. You say, this is who I am, right? I am heart. I am love. This is who I am. So your heart gives you access, greater access to the field, this quantum field, as we radiate that out and interact with each other. And that pause can give us new levels of awareness that can then be fed to brain, so we know how to co-create a better solution.
And if we don't pause, it sounds like we're going to collect more and more baggage.
Absolutely. And we're moving mindlessly and unconsciously. So this is where, if we do take that moment to become more coherent, you know, then we're aligning our heart and our brain, and we're able to receive the insights that we need.
You spoke a little bit about personal work that you do with quantum. So, you know, I guess what is the work that you do in this field?
So I work a lot with unhealed trauma. I work with people who are noticing repetitive patterns that they're ready to shift. There is a component of recognizing what those patterns are. And again, taking that strategic view, saying, okay, where has this come from? Is this an ancestral component? Is this something that has been a life lesson for you here now? And being able to tune into that from that place of having dealt with so much of my own healing, I'm able to present an opportunity for people to co-create their own healing.
I guess in closing, for someone who's, perhaps in the beginning of their learning stages, how would you explain this topic in the most simplest form to, a child?
You are very powerful. You are connected to everything and all that is. And with that power comes an opportunity for you to choose to send out that which you'd like to receive.
Wonderful.
It's the golden rule.
Alice, thank you so much for taking the time to come speak with me, and I wish you the best.
Thank you. Thank you so much.